3 years after surviving the horrific attack that claimed her father's life, 16-year-old Becky is hardened, independent, and fiercely self-sufficient. She has slipped through multiple foster homes, finding solace only in her beloved dog, Diego. Having taught herself survival skills and techniques to stay off the grid, Becky spends her days on the road, traveling wherever she and Diego's instincts lead them. Constantly on the move, she feels safe only in solitude, away from the world that betrayed her and took her father away. Seeing Becky's reluctance, Elena reassures her with warmth and kindness, which Becky has rarely encountered since the attack. Despite her instinct to avoid others, something about Elena feels safe. Sensing Becky's guarded nature, she simply opens her home, giving Becky and Diego a place to rest without judgment, and helping out around Elena's house. Becky also takes a job as a waitress at a nearby diner, hoping to save up some money while maintaining a low profile. One afternoon, while serving customers at the diner, Becky has an unsettling encounter with 3 men: Anthony, DJ, and CN members of an extremist group called the Noblemen. Their behavior is immediately threatening. They exude a smug, intimidating arrogance, and when they direct misogynistic comments toward Becky, she is both infuriated and repulsed. Without hesitation, she retaliates by pouring a steaming cup of coffee on Anthony's lap, a calculated move to show her disdain.
Burn the shit out of my...
Infuriated by this humiliation, the men leave the diner, but their anger lingers. They decide to teach her a lesson and secretly follow Becky back to Elena's home, watching from the shadows. Later that night, the men break in. Despite initially claiming they only intended to scare her, Anthony's anger flares. In a cruel twist, he shoots Elena in the head, leaving her lifeless on the floor. And when she finally wakes up, Diego is gone. She's devastated by Elena's murder and consumed by rage over Diego's kidnapping.
Diego!
Becky vows to hunt down the men who have taken everything from her. Becky begins her search. She eventually tracks down 2 local addresses connected to the name Darryl. Her first stop leads her to a quiet neighborhood where an elderly woman, Darryl Sear, lives. Her second lead takes her to a remote cabin deep in the woods, where she observes a clandestine meeting. The Noblemen's cell leader, Darryl Jr., is there, strategizing with Anthony, DJ Scene, and another militia member known as Twig. From her hidden vantage point, Becky hears them discussing plans for a protest against Senator Hernandez at an upcoming town hall. She realizes their intent. The so-called protest is actually an armed uprising meant to take out the senator. Becky also spots a hidden thumb drive labeled with the Noblemen's insignia. Recognizing the value of such information, she stealthily grabs the thumb drive. To rattle the men, Becky leaves a cell phone on Darryl's doorstep and begins taunting them through anonymous messages. Her words provoke Anthony, DJ, and Cian, who admit to each other that they kidnapped her dog. However, out of fear or shame, they keep silent about Elena's murder when Darryl Jr. confronts them. Darryl orders Anthony to track Becky down.
Hey, Becky!
She anticipates this and leads Anthony deep into the forest, where she has prepared a series of traps. As he follows her trail, Anthony finds himself cornered at the edge of a concealed pit. Becky uses her knowledge of the terrain to ensnare him, rigging him with a grenade trap that detonates when Darryl Jr. later opens the cabin door. The explosion leaves Darryl Jr. in shock, making him question his men's loyalties. Sensing deception, he turns his gun on DJ and Scene, demanding the truth. Under pressure, they admit to murdering Elena, inadvertently setting off a chain reaction. Scene tries to leave, but Darryl's wrath is merciless. He kills Scene by snapping his neck, sending a terrified DJ running for his life. Becky calls Darryl Jr. again, taunting him with the threat of exposing his conspiracy against Senator Hernandez. She also reveals that she has his thumb drive, the key to dismantling his entire network. Darryl, now desperate, sends Twig out to confront Becky in the woods. Armed with a crossbow, Becky strikes Twig with a bolt through his cheeks, leading to a brutal fight. She finally overpowers him, using her machete to hack him to death in a bloody struggle. However, Darryl seizes the opportunity to incapacitate her with a tranquilizer. Becky awakens, bound to a chair in the cabin. Darryl shows her a keepsake key. She always carries a memento of her father. He taunts her, revealing that he discovered numbers engraved on its shaft, suspecting it holds hidden coordinates or some other secret. At this moment, Darryl Sir enters, revealing her true identity as both Darryl Jr.'s mother and the mastermind behind the noble men. The elderly woman Becky met earlier was no harmless old lady, but a pivotal figure in the extremist network. With a chilling grin, Darryl Sir uses Diego as leverage, attempting to manipulate Becky into revealing the location of the thumb drive. But Becky's determination remains unbreakable. She fights her restraints, ultimately breaking free. In a swift move, she sprays Darryl with mace, forcing him to leave the room in pain. As Darryl Sir lifts her gun, intending to kill Diego, Becky throws a knife, striking Darryl Sr. in the forehead and knocking her down. Becky then bolts out of the cabin, luring Darryl Jr. into the forest. Using her extensive knowledge of traps and survival tactics, she leads him into a series of deadly animal traps that pin his legs and wrap around his throat, ultimately killing him in a gruesome display of poetic justice. Returning to the cabin to retrieve Diego, Becky is shocked to discover that Darryl Sr. has somehow survived. Weak and disoriented from her head wound, tries to aim a gun at Becky but cannot steady her shot. Becky orders Diego to attack to death, ensuring that no remnants of the noble men's leadership remain. 24 hours later, Becky finds herself face-to-face with CIA agent Kate Montana. Impressed by Becky's actions, the agent proposes that Becky join the CIA, suggesting that her skills and tenacity could be put to use in a way that goes beyond mere survival. Although Becky is wary, Montana's mention of discovering the purpose of her father's key piques her interest, and Becky agrees. In a final, chilling act of closure, Becky tracks down DJ, who has been trying to escape his past. Stranded on a desolate road after his truck breaks down, a vehicle pulls up, and he sees Becky step out, now dressed in a sharp black suit and driving an official law enforcement car. Without a word, Becky raises a rocket launcher and fires, obliterating DJ and his truck in a fiery explosion that marks the end of her vengeance. Becky stands by the flames, a survivor reborn, ready to forge a new path. Kindly subscribe for more recaps like this. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.
Oh!